Hi everyone, welcome to All Four Queens. I hope everyone's doing well this morning. So this morning's session, I wanted to just go over the Ten Commandments. Now, I know not everybody is into Scripture and in the Bible, but I'd like to think that most people look at the Ten Commandments as common sense prevails, really. I know that obviously as we've gone through some crazy storms and some crazy behaviours in the last, I'd say 5, 10, 15, 20 years for me, plus probably, people have gone against the Ten Commandments. And obviously, if I get enough time, I'll do the universal law as well. But if I don't, then I'll do it on a separate one. But the Bible, Ten Commandments, right? So the Ten Commandments were originally given by God to Moses on the Mount Sinai, as recorded in Exodus chapter 20, page 130. I am the Lord your God. You shall have no other God before me. You shall not make for yourself an idol. You shall not misuse the name of the Lord your God. Remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. Honour your father and mother. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not give false testimony. And you shall not covet anything that belongs to your neighbour. When asked what the greatest commandment, Jesus referred to them and summoned them as follows. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and the greatest commandment, and the second is like it. Love your neighbour as yourself. And that's Matthew 22:37, page 1043 in the Gideon's Bible. On another occasion, he told an inquirer, do not murder, do not commit adultery, do not steal, do not give false testimony, honour your father and mother, and love your neighbour as yourself. Matthew 19:18, and that's on page 1039. Now, what I find really interesting about that is it says, love your mother and father as you do yourself. But one question, do they love you in the same way? So interesting, isn't it? So let's go to Exodus. I just want to see if I can find Exodus while we're here. And then I should have marked it, shouldn't I? Rather than waste time doing this. But oh, here we go. Exodus 130, isn't it? Yeah, okay. So the full scripture of the Ten Commandments says, and God spoke all the words, I am the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt and out of the land of slavery. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself an idol in the form of anything in heaven above or on the earth beneath or in waters below. You shall not bow down to them or worship them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, punishing the children for the sin of the fathers and in the third, fourth generation of those who hate me. Remember, we talked about generational curses because that sits within that as well, doesn't it? But sharing love to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commandments. You shall not misuse the name of the Lord your God, for the Lord will not hold anyone guilty who misuses his name. Remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. 6 days you shall labour and do all your work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, neither you, nor your son or daughter, nor your servant, nor your manservants or maidservants, nor your animals, nor the alien within your gates. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, but he rested on the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. Honour your father and your mother, so that you may live long in the land the Lord your God is giving you. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not give false testimony against your neighbour, and you shall not covet your neighbour's house. You shall not covet your neighbour's wife, or your manservant, or your maidservant, his ox or donkey, or anything that belongs in your neighbour. When the people saw the thunder and lightning and heard the trumpet and saw the mountain in smoke, they trembled with fear. They stayed at a distance and said to Moses, speak to us yourself and we will listen, but do not have God speak to us or we will die. Moses said to the people, "Do not be afraid. God has come to test you, so that the fear of God will be with you to keep you from sinning." The people remained at a distance while Moses approached the thick darkness where God was. Now I'm going to read this part as well. Idols and altars. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Tell the Israelites this: you have seen for yourself that I have spoken to you from heaven. Do not make any gods to be alongside me. Do not make for yourself god of silver or gods of gold. Make an altar of earth for me and sacrifice on it your burnt offerings and fellowship offerings, your sheep and goats and cattle. Whenever I cause my name to be honoured, I will come to you and bless you. If you make an altar of stone for me, do not build it with dressed stones, for you will defile it if you use a tool on it. And do not go up to my altar on steps, lest your nakedness be exposed." So, I suppose the question really is, sorry, I haven't got the right reading glasses on, but the question there is, how many of those do you say, you don't have to be religious and you don't have to be spiritual, and like I say, I'm an open vessel, and I wish I'd got the Quran with me because I probably would have read theirs. But for me, that's common sense, isn't it? And it goes back to the one that I probably quote the most is Luke, 6:31, "Do unto others as you want done to yourself." I don't think that, for me, I mean, it's great if you do get into some sort of faith and you want to explore it a little bit more and understand it. And I do believe personally from my own experience that when you do get into spiritual warfare, faith is strongly required, purely because who are you going to call when you've got things that you can't see attacking you in a different realm, and those on this realm sometimes are part of the problem and not the solution. So you need to have something to be able to know that you've got some support. So for me, that's why faith is so important. Now, I think in other areas, and I'm not speaking ill of others, because obviously I'm open to everybody and I respect everybody. But when I was younger, if I refer back to when I was younger, I didn't really understand why I was a Catholic. I just thought that, as a 5-year-old, it was what everybody else did, so it's what I had to do. I didn't really understand it, and it wasn't explained to me. But as I got older and as I awakened, and I never really lost faith as such, even when I was growing up, and I always knew that I was being guided, because I always knew that I just knew that I was being guided. And when I was younger, I'd have visits and stuff. And I always knew there was something bigger going on behind the scenes, which is why they used to visit me, because obviously there is, and there was, and it's all going to come out now in 2024, isn't it? But I didn't really understand why I was in faith. I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. It was just words in a book. Now, when I look at it and I'm older and I can understand it, and I can understand the blessing and the message behind it, I get more comfort from it because I understand it now, and there are some subliminals in there. Okay, yeah, you could argue that we don't live our life the way that the Bible represents it, but if you look at certain scriptures, certain things do. I mean, if you look at Sodom and Gomorrah, they completely lost all sense of who they were, because they completely, you could argue, did they become arrogant or ignorant because they believed that they were more superior? So when the heavens have to come in and step on something and go, absolutely no, you got to ask yourself if they do exist. And when I say the heavens, obviously they work with us, and they hear our prayers, and obviously there are always some genuine people, whereas you may have tried in the past to get stuff done on the physical, and it's never gone anywhere, and then all of a sudden new people come in, and then all of a sudden it changes. And that's what I mean when I say there's change afoot, because if you look what's going on, and I will use Hollywood again, I would say and this is my personal opinion, that in the past people have known these things have been going on but have done nothing about it, and people have raised their concerns about it, and things have happened to them because of it. So people did know about it, but obviously there wasn't anybody strong enough to take the satanic stronghold. And I will say satanic stronghold because I do believe there is an element of that there, as with anything, you know. That's not how God operates. So you have to say it's satanic, or another force of some sort. So yeah, so I think that for me that was why, you know, when I awakened, I got back into reading the Bible and understanding. And I think they directed me very much to Revelations first. I'm actually going through Enoch at the minute as well. So, but yeah, so for me, I don't necessarily think that, you know, everyone has to convert to some sort of faith if you don't want to. But I do think it's good to have an understanding, and common sense prevails, isn't it? And discernment and intuition is so important, because you don't want to treat people badly. And you don't want to talk about people badly. And when you get into this gossiping and lying and all that sort of stuff, it's only ever going to come back to you anyway. So it doesn't matter how many years you've done it, it will always find its way back. So better to not get embroiled in that. And I know it's easy to not, because sometimes people are very manipulative and you don't realise they're bringing you into that rabbit hole. But for me personally, I'll just go, well, I think, you know, I'm not prepared. I don't really have a conversation. I don't really need to have that discussion with you or whatever. And if someone comes to me and tells me something, even in a business perspective, I'll go, have you spoken to that person? If they say no, and I'll say, well, why are you talking to me? Because if you're not prepared to speak to the person, then I don't want to hear it. And I think, you know, for me, that's where we get change. That's where we drive change to more of a positive, and cut out and break down these negative ways of behaviour, because you shouldn't be talking about anybody. If they're not there to defend themselves, why should you be talking about them? And also, if you are talking about them and people don't validate what's being said, well then more fool everybody else, because not only is the person who's speaking about them going to get karma, but the people that are actually listening to it will get their karma, but they'll also catch somebody else's karma. Why would you want to do that? And also, if you remember, I said karma goes quicker in the age of Aquarius. It doesn't take 20 years. It's a lot quicker, and things are more exposed quickly as well. So I think for me, this session is a little bit about, you know, 10 commandments, but just be mindful, you know. And I'm not saying you have to be religious or spiritual, but you do need to be mindful, because people will draw you into all sorts of things. And obviously, you know, we don't know what karma they've got, and some people just can't help themselves. And you have to ask yourself, are those the people that you really want to spend your time with anyway? But hey ho. So yeah, so just a quick one. I will do the universal ones next, and I'll post them hopefully together so that they're on there. And but they go into a little bit, so there's a little bit of like coaching questions on that one as well. So it's just food for thought as well. So have a great day, and I'll see you later. Bye.